Hi, welcome to the discussion. I'm your girl Brittany of Bree Style Edition, and today I'm teaming up with my girl
Amoi of Styled by Amois.
And today's discussion is going to be centered on our personal journeys as stylists, the imposter syndrome, as well as some misconceptions about hiring a personal stylist.
We'll also discuss racial bias in the fashion industry, what's wear to an interview, and our personal struggles with COVID, and also the future of fashion after this.
So make sure that you tune in and enjoy the discussion. Hi, you look super cute. I like that.
Hey, thank you. I love the purple lip.
Thank you.
The backgrounds look so like relaxing and serene.
Thank you. I don't have anything wardrobe related, but we'll focus the discussion on wardrobe, so we'll be good. I just want to do a disclaimer to everybody that's going to be watching that I have this grandfather clock, so it makes a lot of noise. It chimes every like 30 minutes to an hour, and then my alarm system makes noises, so please forgive me in advance. But thank you, Amois, for even agreeing to do this with me. We go back since high school, so I don't even know what year did we graduate? 2007?
07, yeah.
07. So we go back to then, and ever since I've known her, I've known you to be like a person that loves fashion, always fashion forward, super cute, and always very sweet and very nice. When I thought about doing something like this, I was just like, who can I ask to even have a discussion with me? And then, of course, you immediately came to mind. So thank you. I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for, asking me and thinking of me. And yeah, of course, I'm glad that I came to mind. But I'm excited about this. Okay, so my name is Amois, and I was born in Jamaica. Came here pretty young, but I would say I always loved fashion, and I remember having an eye for style as early as maybe like around 5 or so. I just remember picking out like certain things and asking, and that was when I started to explore. I think seeing things I like and knowing like I like this and I don't like that. But I've always loved fashion. But when I started to think about what I wanted to be when I grew up, maybe around like 12 or 13 or so, I ruled out fashion altogether because back then the only thing I knew was to be like a fashion designer, right? But I wanted to be an actress and I knew I wanted to style myself and I wanted to style like my other actor friends and stuff like that for red carpets. But that was when I had never heard of a stylist. Like that wasn't even a term I'd ever even heard of. I didn't even know that existed. So I ruled out fashion because for me, I was like, well, if I want to design or create, I want to only fill the gaps. I don't want to just make clothes just for the sake of making clothes.
Right.
Coming out with a new collection just for the sake of coming out with a new collection twice a year. So I never really seriously considered it, but it kept coming back around, like at different points in my life. It just as something to do like as a side project, whether it's styling or even to like do like a reality show, like a raid my closet type situation.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry guys.
Okay, we're both like my eyes are watering so bad. I'm like trying to fight.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know what happened.
I don't know what it is.
It's like
when you start. It's like when you start recording, everything is going wrong.
It's okay.
But yeah,
it's not gonna be perfect.
But it kept coming back around at different points in my life, and I think I'd made a few different career moves. I actually studied broadcasting and film, so that's why the whole reality show Raid My Closet idea came around, because I have a production background. So I always wanted to draw it back to that. So I would say I did a few different things. I was working full time on like an app doing digital content. That was from late 2015 to the end of 2016. After that, while I was doing that, I was I had a web show called Making of Millennial Mogul, and I would interview young entrepreneurs and things like that. And then after that contract ended, I decided to start working for myself, and I ran a direct marketing business for several months. And then I went as far as I could until like I couldn't even continue. Like if I wanted to, I was basically kind of like forced to stop. And so I took that time to reevaluate what I was doing. And then it really hit me like, what are you doing? Like, like you're not passionate about this, so it just made sense. And it was my boyfriend, and another friend had told me before, like, you should really pursue styling as a career. And I was like, you know what? I think I should, because no matter what kind of business you start, whether it's an MLM or anything, it's going to take work. And I'm like, well, if I'm going to be putting this kind of work into building something, I want to make sure that, one, it should be something I'm passionate about, but I wanted to make sure that it made sense with my brand. So it's not like, oh, during the day I'm doing this and then I'm that. But fashion was the one thing where everything can really come together for me. So I decided to start there. So that was, when was that? I think that was late, maybe the fall of 2017. And it was kind of a slow start. I was kind of feeling my way around. I decided, I was like, okay, well, I have a film production background. Maybe I could do styling for film. And I had styled for a film for a friend a few years prior. So I tried to get back in that space and started doing stuff online. So that's kind of how it came about. I'd always loved fashion, but a few different twists and turns brought me here. What about you?
For me, fashion it's like in my blood. Literally, I feel like that. My mom, her siblings are people who love fashion. It's not a labels thing. It's just like putting it together. Like they can put things together from clothes to interior design. Like that's their thing. So I feel like it was almost innate in me, like for real.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, fashion has always been a way of expression and art for me. Like I know a lot of stylists hate when you say, oh, I have a passion for fashion. I just love it. But for me, it goes beyond that. I think when you look good, you feel good on the inside.
Absolutely.
And I've always had a knack for making people feel good with my words of encouragement, with like, whatever it may be. And I'm not trying to like pat myself on the back. That's literally my personality. I'm always trying to uplift somebody. I'm like, if they're going, I'm very empathetic. So I feel what other people are feeling. So I said all that to say, when I was young, I don't feel like people always spoke life into me per se. And when I discovered fashion as an art form or a way to express myself, I was like, I feel good. Like this, when I look good, I feel good. Hence why I pursued cosmetology at Tech, the high school that we went to, because I said, when you look good, you feel good. So that's why I pursued that. Like you, I've tried.
I didn't know you did cosmetology. I didn't know that was your focus.
Yep, so I'm licensed.
But
I'm
it
a
makes sense.
cosmetologist. I always make sure I renew my license every 2 years. Yes. I pursued so many different career paths like you. But I would say when I first knew, I probably was about, like, when I have recollection of like really enjoying fashion, I feel like I was about 7 or so. When I was younger, my mom didn't really give me the creative control to be able, like, oh, I want to wear it. It's kind of like, girl, no, you putting this on and go sit down, So, and in addition to that, one of the reasons, it's not to shift the blame, because you have to make decisions for yourself sometimes, but I relied so heavily on my parents, and their opinion mattered to me so much. And for my mom, fashion wasn't a legitimate career path. She didn't feel like it was going to be, lucrative or sustainable or whatever. So I was just like, okay, I have to be a lawyer or something. And I actually pursued law for a while. I took the LSAT, I went to college for political science and jurisprudence and all this stuff. I was a double major, minor in public admin. So I thought I was going to be some sort of politician or policymaker and be an attorney, right? took the LSAT, interned on Capitol Hill, and I was like, girl, no, this is not for you. It was super stuffy. I couldn't come in looking cute. Like I could, but people were like, where you going? I'm like, why can't I be smart and look cute? Like, so it was a thing for me. I was just like, I don't like this because I can't creatively express myself. Like, I'm not saying I was going in there dressed inappropriately in terms of showing too much skin or super loud colors, but I have on purple lipstick. I've never been a person that just likes to be in the shadows and I love fashion. Again, that's my art form. So I said all of that to say I did pursue a lot of career paths. After I went to college, I ended up getting a master's in business, which that I don't regret because even when I went to tech, I was just like, okay, at some point in time, this is going to lead to a business. Like entrepreneurship was always the goal for me, but I couldn't directly do fashion. I wanted to go to college for fashion, but again, like I said, my mom was just like, yeah, girl, no.
Not having it.
Not having it. And so, long story short, I ended up opening a clothing boutique. I had it for a couple of years. I had a partner. The partnership didn't work out, unfortunately, but the business did really well. And, from there, I got my first celebrity styling. I've done a few different things from there as far as the styling industry, but what I found that I enjoy most within the styling industry is editorial. I really, truly enjoy that. Unfortunately, unless you land a big gig, when you work for a magazine or something, a lot of editorials don't really pay. You don't get paid that much. So if I had to choose something, I would love to do more like film styling and get within a union or something like that. But to answer the question in short, I've always known that I love styling. From about 7 is when I really, really discovered it. But after college was when I really was just like, you know what? I need to do this because this is where I keep getting redirected to. This is where my passion is. I always get asked to put things together before I became a stylist, like a real one. I would always be asked, like, can you put this together for me? Like always in the beauty industry. Can you do my makeup? Can you do my hair? Just always. And I always found the most enjoyment in that area. So I was just like, you know what? Like you, if I'm going to have to work hard, I might as well do what I love and work hard at that. And that's just where I'm at with it.
Definitely. I can totally relate to that because so I would say the first time when you talked about like your mom not really giving you that freedom to like choose what you want to wear and stuff like that, I totally relate. First of all, okay, like I think the first time I had to talk with my mother and told her that I wanted to start picking out my own clothes, I want to say it maybe was when I was like 13, but before that, when we're in Macy's, first of all, she asked me if I like something, I say no, and then she caused a whole commotion. I'm like, can I like it? How I do it? You know, I'm like, well, why are you gonna ask me if it doesn't matter whether I like it or not? You're gonna buy it anyway. You're gonna buy it. I'm gonna wear it. Like, you know, boom. And so I think it was like when I was around 13 and I was going to 8th grade. That was when I first started to think about like, how do I want to present myself? And it wasn't necessarily those words, but I started thinking about how I wanted to show up at school, what kind of girl I wanted to be. And from that point on, I think that was the first time I really did that whole like reinvention with myself, because at different points in my life, I would kind of reinvent myself and it would show through my style. And sometimes that would be one of the starting points. And so it was the first time I ever really started to do that and I guess start to explore. But I would say that fashion has got me to some of my lowest points. There have been some times in my life where the best thing about my day was my outfit, you know, and just that act of getting together, looking cute, looking good and feeling good is like, I mean, made the whole difference about how I felt about the day, how I viewed situations. There were just certain, like, I mean, there was, I remember this one job that I would go into, for some reason, we were all getting along fine. And then at some point something shifted and it was like people like were, for some reason, it's like, it was me versus them. I don't even know. I don't know what happened. It's like, whoa, we were getting on so good. What happened? And, but even through that, I was like, all right, we're about to get dressed, about to go, you know, like dress for the job you want, Amois, whether it's this or another one, and go in. And I remember one of the ringleaders that was on that opposing side was we were all in like the kitchen area getting water. No, we're in the bathroom. And there was a lady from another team that she was using the bathroom. She's like, "Oh wow, you're the lady that always looks so nice. Like, oh, like I love your outfit." And like the other girl was there in the presence, like there. So it's just like, okay, you know, here I am slain in the presence of my enemies. Like, you know, so how some of those small things are just important, because even though I felt like I was getting attacked, like there's something me showing up as me still kind of like, okay, so all right, it's not me.
That's my whole story, Amoy. Half my life, even in, you may not, I don't even know if you realized it, but a lot of people in high school did not like.
I would have not thought that.
And if you know anything about me, I kind of stayed to myself. I didn't have a big name in school. Nobody like, you know, everybody knew who I was. That's not the case, you know. So I'm just like, the people who didn't like me, I'm like, why? I'm not trying to be, you know, in your presence. I'm just to myself. But I saw that to say, I'm not one of those people that like to call everybody a hater per se. But sometimes people's energies don't mix with yours.
Right.
And people sometimes don't like when you show up as you, when you're comfortable in the skin that you're in, when you live in out loud, so to say, and not living out loud in terms of you wearing bold stuff or whatever, but you're just living in your truth, whatever makes you happy. But sometimes what makes you happy sometimes makes other people uncomfortable. Sometimes people just don't like to see you happy, smiling. So that same issue followed me throughout my life, even sometimes to this day. I think that people get upset when they're like, why is she smiling all the time? Like at most of my jobs, my nickname became Smiley, no exaggeration. My last 3 jobs, I mean, I haven't worked for someone since like 2016, but my last 3 jobs before that, literally my nickname was Smiley. And I remember my last job, it was a corporate job. I will not say their name for legality reasons, but it got really ugly, right? And I remember my ex-boss, the day of my interview, I had on like, I think it was Calvin Klein or something like that. It wasn't even like a big name, right? But the buttons were like silver, and it was my money suit though. Like, you know how you have a certain suit? That's my suit that I always get the job. I'm like, if I got a suit, it's signed, still deliver. Like, you know what I mean? I show up.
Right.
So I wore that suit that day, but we were having a discussion. So after the interview, I walked out of the interview in my head like, I just killed this shit, right? I was thinking that to myself, but I wasn't exuding that. I was just still, you know, chilling. So as I'm walking out, she's like, she grabs the suit collar, like, oh, what kind of suit is that? And I'm just like, I don't know her. My first time meeting her was this interview. And I was trying to be like nonchalant, like, oh, I think it's like Calvin Klein. She's like, it's Calvin Klein. I could see it on the buttons. And I'm like, okay. So that should have told me then that it was going to be a problem. But as time went on, that boss that I had was like a rivalry for me. And I tried to be nice to her. It was just, she was into fashion, but never quite hit the mark, if you get what I mean. Like fashion is very subjective, but she just never really hit the mark. So and people would come up to my desk like, oh, you look so beautiful. You look nice. You always look cute, you know, stuff like that. And I could always, you know how you could feel if somebody could burn up with your skin with their eyes, it was like that. And so I said, I would always be like, I remember even coming home crying one day, because that was like my first real big job. You know, like I thought I wanted this corporate job with the company, you know, cell phone. I thought that was the life I wanted, right? Anyway, I came home crying one day. I was living on my own, but I came to my parents' house and I'm like, my boss just don't like me. I don't know what to do. Like, I'm doing my job. She tries to find reasons to attack me, you know, so I ended up leaving there because of that situation. It got so toxic, and I had to directly report to her. So I was like, okay, this is not going to work out. But I say all of that to say I know that feeling, and it's good to know that I'm not the only one, because I really was like, damn, am I just not a likable person? Like, why? What is it? I'm like, I'm nice to people. I mind my business. I'm not walking around just talking about people. Like, I just stay to myself. So I'm just like, how is it that I'm so unliked by people when I'm like,
exactly.
Yeah. So okay. So that.
All right, so good to know that that wasn't alone. because I definitely share a lot of the same sentiments. Like I say to myself, and I was really quiet. And I forgot, someone said to me, I think it was maybe like senior year or junior year or something. She said, "Oh, I thought you were conceited." I was like,
"Oh, got that too."
What? I'm like, how would you? What? Where would you get that from? Like, I've never said anything to you. Like, so why would you think that? Like, seriously?
For me, I think when you're into fashion and or not even if you're a stylist, doesn't even have to be a stylist, but most times when you're really into the fashion world, where you like want to be a designer or a fashion stylist or some sort, you do tend to be a little bit more flamboyant with your clothing, or just more conscious of it, right? But I think when you go to interviews, it's like a fine line between doing too much and not doing enough, or just feeling like you're in a box. And that's how I felt when I worked in the corporate world. But what I found that was helpful was if I did do a bold pattern, bold not in color, but just like a pattern, I would try to tone it down with the color. Or I would try to mute it a little bit by, if I wore a loud blouse, I'd have a blazer of a solid color that wasn't as, out there, I guess, or as bold. Or sometimes I would just try to do a cute shoe, or like I had this phase where I was like really into ties, like bow ties, like really into them. This was like a while ago, but I would wear like a bow tie to jobs. Like I like that androgynous look sometimes, like, where you're like, who's my like spirit twin. I don't dress like this now because it just doesn't fit my body type, but I was a lot smaller then. I love Tiana Taylor. Like that tomboyish, but still feminine and cute. That's like my spirit twin. So I saw that to say, like, if you did do a bow tie, if you're a man and you do a tie, like maybe something, colorful, or, a little bit more flamboyant there, but then your suit is more toned down. Or like with men, they do their socks, or women, you can do like a belt or accessories, like something to just add a little flair without being too loud. But my issue with interviewing or working in certain settings that isn't related to the fashion industry is sometimes you get labeled as someone, if you're too cute, like if you dress too cute or you look too cute, then they think that you're not intelligent, or you're not going to actually be serious about the work or get the work done. And the reason I know that is because at my old job, my last two jobs, I was in human resources, and I was one of the people doing like the hiring and the interviews so I was behind the scenes of those discussions. And so I used to be like always that person advocating for the interviewee, because I'm like, that's not true. I'm like, I'm here. I work hard. I'm here because I want to be here. But I also like to look good. Me looking good has nothing to do with the work that I'm actually going to be, doing. So, it's a fine line. It's crazy in the interview world. I mean,
that is so crazy.
Yeah.
That like, that they'll like make that assumption just because of how you show up. But
you can't, really quickly, it sounds crazy, but just think about, as a Black woman, how we are labeled with our hair. We're not professional. If I came to work,
my God,
I don't look professional. An afro is not
Lord.
professional. That has nothing to do with my work ability, So if you can think about it applying to hair, it does definitely transfers and translates to fashion as well. That's how they think.
Oh yeah,
but it's
for sure.
Not the case.
I've had my fair share of interviews and trying to fit into what I thought I was supposed to look like. And, just always not feeling super comfortable or very comfortable. Over time, I came to realize, like, if I can't show up as me, if I can't express myself in how I dress, then it's probably not an environment that I want to work in. What I love for interviews is a statement staple. So a statement staple is something that I call a statement staple, something like a black pencil skirt, but it's leather. You know what I mean? Or like a leather material. Or even, you can even do a different color with a shirt that's a little more like toned down if you want to like mix colors and things like that. Or maybe a blazer that has maybe like leather seams or like some kind of leather, something detail. Or even something like, and I love the idea of like, if you're going to do a top that's like printed, like the blazer over it is more muted. I think that's really cool. I love like stuff that like if you're gonna do like a fitted type sheath dress, having something that has like maybe the neckline has like an interesting cut is like I think is really cool. The skirt having like some kind of like an asymmetrical detail, maybe like how the maybe like there's like a little bit of a split and like things like that that adds that visual interest while it's still being it can be black, it can be a solid color, but it's about how you put it together, that like and your accessories, your hair and things like that. So I think those are, you definitely still want to follow like certain rules, of course, like not too much cleavage, all that good stuff. But I like to push the envelope a little bit.
And I think all those things that you just said are great. I personally, in the past, would not have worn those things to an interview per se. After I get the job, but going to the interview, I used to always really just be like, okay, I'm gonna like. I like little interesting cuts of a skirt as long as it's at a certain length or something like that. But I don't know if I would have been as bold then to wear like a leather skirt to an interview. I think it's fly. Don't get me wrong, and I would wear it during the job, like once I got the job. But sometimes it's it's hard because you never know who you're going to be interviewing with on the other side of things. You know what I mean? Once you get to the interview, you don't know who you're going to face. And they may not even be somebody you're ever going to work with. So it's like one of those things you get in your head about, like, am I going to come across the same way, the right way? Am I going to be speaking the language that they want to hear in terms of my presentation, my demeanor, the things that I'm saying, literally? It's just one of those weird spaces, but I do think it's important to, like you said, be in an environment where you feel somewhat comfortable and where the culture is welcome. It welcomes you to be yourself, because company culture is very important. And unfortunately, sometimes once company culture is already established, it's hard to change. And that's one of the reasons why I think it's so important for us as women and as Black women to create spaces where we can hire people that can be themselves and live in their truth and live out loud and not be, not be ostracized for it or labeled as, someone who's not going to do their work or whatever. It's like very important. It's like, that's one of the reasons why everything that I do in the entrepreneurial field, I try to reach out or reach back and like bring somebody else along with me, even though I'm not super far or where I want to be. But I always think about like, okay, how can I bring somebody else along with me so that when I do make it to where I want to be, it's not like I look back and nobody looks like me or I'm by myself. You know what I mean? Have you ever had the imposter syndrome where you just didn't feel like you were adequate enough to be in the spaces that you were in, like, or you were wondering, like, am I faking it? Am I supposed to be here? Is this right for me?
Absolutely. Yes, and yes. I would say maybe the first time I felt it was maybe when I graduated and things were not working out in the, like, the job search was like I wasn't gaining any kind of momentum in like film and stuff. And someone said to me, "You need to, And probably the reason why so many doors were closed was probably because I was supposed to start my own thing, but I did not feel adequate. I'm like, well, I'm like, well, what do I know? Who's gonna listen to me? And like, I just felt like I didn't know enough and have enough experience, which is a lie. Like, what I know now. But I would say specifically as it relates to fashion and styling, we changed careers and decided to pursue styling, right? And even though I do have background in retail and I do have experience styling people, and even though I know what to wear to interviews, even though I know how to dress body types, and I know how to tell you, like, explain that, like, okay, this versus this, like, you go with this. Even though I know all of that and I've done my through trial and error have learned how like different fabrics fit and composition and like just how when things are cut and like what suits different body types and even my knowledge of brands. Even then, right after all of that, I do feel a way because I didn't study fashion in school. And there's a stylist. She has styled celebrities. She has a personal styling business, and she's pretty known. And I watch her stuff on YouTube, and a lot of her followers will ask, about her own experience and things like that. And what I hear so much is like people say, everybody's a stylist now, because you have a lot of like people on Instagram, and just because they can put outfits together, they're like, I'm a stylist, and those are the people that they're referring to. And so a part of me always kind of like, I feel attacked. Like, I feel a way when I hear that. And I'm like, am I one of those people? Am I just because I like fashion, am I just like, oh, let me do this? And I currently work as an online stylist, and I do work alongside of individuals who did study fashion. Not all of them, but a lot of them did study fashion. And I do still kind of feel like I have to like revalidate my expertise. And I know that I don't know everything, but I think I know enough. I feel like you're constantly going to run into things or blockers or someone that's going to, or something that will make you feel like you can't do it and you can't do this. But it's just like I have to continue to remind myself that I can, and I do know, I have I have a wealth of knowledge, and I can help someone. So yeah, but yeah, I experience it all the time.
I've experienced it as well, but a little different from yours. I've experienced it more from people in the industry, in the fashion industry. The styling industry, especially in entertainment, can be very cliquish. So if you're not a part of the who's crowd, you don't always get the notoriety, or you don't get the respect that other people get. And so sometimes people think that if they have a few names on their roster or under their belt, then, they're up here and you're down here, and not that I've styled a lot of celebrities, but I've had my hands on a few. This one designer I worked with at one point in time is very well known. They connected me with their friend who owns a showroom. And so I pulled some pieces, a few pieces from that showroom, and I used them for the editorial shoot that I was doing. And so one of the pieces that I pulled all from the same designer, the designer reposted, loved it. The other piece, the other stylist that connected me with the showroom ends up reaching out to me, telling me that it was horrible and, all of these things. And I was just like, wait, what? Mind you, I had gotten from other people praises like, oh, this is awesome. This looks good. You did a great job. But he told me that the way I put it together was horrible. So it had me take a step back, because I thought, and this is my own personal fault, he hasn't been in the industry any longer than I've been in the industry, but he has worked with more people. So I was just like, damn, like, am I losing my touch? Am I bugging? I had to take a step back and reevaluate myself. So I started thinking like, and it's not about a comparison thing, but you do have, sometimes you could easily doubt yourself, or just, I know that I know a lot, but fashion is very subjective. And so it's like, it's my baby. This is my passion. It's something that I nurture and nourish. I try to hone my skills and my crafts constantly. So when somebody attacks that, or they tell you they don't like it, it makes you question, like, am I missing the mark? Am I not, doing a good job? So I started thinking like, did he go to school for fashion? Am I missing something? Is this something that makes him more qualified than me? But I'm just like, no. I learned in that scenario that it's not the education that makes you stand out from anyone else, because you don't have to get formal education to have knowledge of something, right? So I have a lot of years of experience, like hands-on experience. So I learned not to get so hung up on like the formal education, because I have formal education that I've been able to take transferable skills from and apply it to my fashion styling business. Fashion, like I said from the beginning, is art. And I had to remind myself that everybody is not going to like your work. And that's okay. It doesn't make you an imposter because you decided to join an industry or a field that you love. Like many industries, it's oversaturated. There's qualified people and there's people who aren't qualified. And so I had to check myself. And I'm not saying I never have those moments of like, gosh, am I tripping? Am I not supposed to be here? But you can't allow other people to place their opinions on you. It is what it is. In this industry, everybody is not going to like what you do. That's just what it is because it's a subjective field. Fashion is art. So I said all that to say, yes, I've experienced it, but I'm learning to redirect my thoughts and my ways of thinking and not focus so much on the people who don't support, don't like, or think that, oh, everybody's doing it. So what? Everybody's doing everything. So that doesn't mean I don't belong, And so that's just that.
This concludes part 1 of the discussion with me, your girl Bree of Bree Style Edition, and my girl Amoi of Styled by Amois. We will be back next week with part 2 of the discussion. Stay tuned.